person I just met this morning. He lives on the side of a mountain in Atkins, Virginia, where he's been hiding for the past 20-some odd years. He's been telling stories about double that time, but until recently, couldn't get anyone to listen. I have them right there in bios, by the way. His stories are always truthful and most of the time factual. The first time he met his neighbor, he was naked. Now try to get that out of your mind. Please welcome Mr. Mark Sage.
We were broke. We were beyond broke. We were broke in a way that only a couple with two young and still in diapers can be. It was 2004, and I was working up the road in Abingdon there, and I wasn't making much money at all. To try to make the ends meet, my wife would keep the kids during the day, and then she took a job of the evenings working at the Walmart as a cashier. That's something they used to have back a long time ago, cashiers. What they did was that they would scan your groceries and your t-shirts and your sunglasses and put them into a bag for you. You give them your money, they'd hand you a receipt and tell you to have a nice night. It was a different time. And for us, it was a tough time. There were days, weeks, months, years where I didn't have an idea in the world how we'd pay the light bill. And sometimes we didn't. And there were many an evening coming home where I didn't know how supper would get on the table, but somehow it always magically appeared there. So it was hard times, but not the kind you look back on in anger. Now, 2004 just happens to be the same year that the Old Crow Medicine Show released OCMS. Now, this was only a couple years after Doc Watson heard him playing in Boone, and Marty Stewart saw him playing on the streets in Nashville. And we were years away, several years away, from the time when everybody with a guitar was giving Wagon Wheel the Freebird treatment. Point is, there wasn't a whole lot of people outside of Marty Stewart and Doc Watson know anything about the Old Crow Medicine Show. But what we did, and we were fans, we were big fans. They were singing our song. They had struck a chord in me, and every note they sang rang true and honest and raw. When they said there ain't a thing for a poor man in this world, man, I felt that right down to my worn out souls. And my heart too was broken because my spirit wasn't free. And I knew with every fiber of my being that the trials and troubles of life are heavy, sometimes too heavy. And young as we were, young as I was, I understood that life don't last forever. And I wanted to believe in my soul, wanted to believe in when they said we were all in this together. And I did believe them wholeheartedly when they hollered about tearing it down, bed slats and all. And with a frenzy that found the Memphis Jug Band shaking hands with the Ramones. The Old Crow Medicine Show wasn't just speaking to me, they were speaking for me. A dumb, broke, and a little bit broken down mountain boy. So when we heard that they were going to be playing the third ever Bristol Rhythm and Roots reunion, we decided right then and there we were going no matter what. We would scrimp and save and sacrifice. We would go without electric at least till the weather turned cold. We were going to get tickets even if we had to put a lien on our bodies and a mortgage on our souls. At night, we ate leftovers of leftovers. And in the morning, I turned my britches inside out and put tape on the holes so they wouldn't be noticeable from a distance, you know, like I say on a galloping horse. And of the afternoon, my wife gave our boys the exquisite gift of nothing. She would craft adventures out of the mundane, and she learned them how to find the sacred in the profane. They discovered baby birds and trees, and they rescued squirrels from cat claws. And about once a month, she would load them up into our old Bronco and drive down to the filling station. They'd make a run through the car wash, and they'd all pretend they was on a ride at the Dollywood. They were rich even if we weren't. Now on the day of the show, I got us up bright and early. I brushed our teeth, combed our hair, put on our Sunday go-to-meeting clothes. And my wife, she made us some peanut butter and jelly sandwiches so we wouldn't have to spend no money on food down here. And we got out the door bound for Bristol, baby. Bear in mind that it wasn't an easy task to get that brood gathered up. My eldest had just turned 3, and he was a wild man. He was uncontrollable and often unfindable. And my least one was 1. And he was just learning how to walk, and brother, he was making a hash of it. He spent most of his time falling down and acquiring new bumps and bruises and stitches. I swear to you, there was a point in time when that boy was more nylon thread than he was flesh. But we made it down here on time, early, and with no injuries and no unnecessary stitches. And it was my wife what first realized that there wasn't going to be a problem getting a seat at that stage off of State Street where the Old Crow was going to be playing. Judging from the crowd that was there, outside of Marty Stewart and Doc Watson, we were the onlyest people in a 3-state area that knowed anything about the Old Crow. So I allowed we could wander around a little bit so long as we didn't walk too far. And we did that. We walked around, and when we come back to that little stage off State Street, there still wasn't anybody there. And they weren't coming either. Altogether, there's only a couple dozen of us there, and most of us smelled like patchouli. But we listened, danced, we sang along to every song. My oldest boy climbed up on top of things and jumped off my litless, and he fell and bumped his head a few times, and then he drifted off in his mama's arms. And when it was all over and was said and done, I carried him up on stage to meet the boys in the band. I didn't have anything for him to sign except him, and I didn't figure. You know the rest. His mom would have been angry about a tattoo at that age. So I declined. So we just talked about music, talked about the Carter family and Lead Belly, talked about Hover Smith and the Memphis Jug Band. And we forgot, or I forgot, that it was tough times. I forgot that there was a hungry light bill awaiting, that there's still mouths to feed and bills to pay. I forgot it was tough times, and I remembered it was the best of times. The music meant everything back then when the world was still green, and there was magic in the air, magic that was being conjured here on the stages and streets of Bristol. And that's my hope for you is today, that you'll be able to grab hold a little bit of that magic that's being summoned, that your world is still green, the music still means everything, and that you won't look back at these hard times in anger.